You comin', bro? Mike got us a spot by the stage. You aren't going to the craft store, are you?
What? Come on, I've been at those kind of places since college.
Hi, I'm Tanner. I'm a stand-up comedian with a degree in fashion design. And a few years ago, I made this short film, Bee, a short film about a bee and his flower wife who get into an argument after the bee keeps seeing fake flowers at the craft store. I got the idea when I was visiting my mom, and I noticed she had one of those wreaths with fake flowers on it, and the bee kept buzzing around it. And it made me wonder, are fake flowers basically pornography for bees? So I made this film. Today I'm going to talk about all the costumes I did for this short film to make this come together. Before I get started, please subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of more videos like this one. My channel is still very new, and support like yours makes a world of difference for me. Before we get into the main short film, I actually made a sketch with my sketch comedy group about a year earlier. Here's a little clip from that one.
You didn't, by chance, go to the craft store tonight, did you?
What? No, I haven't been to those kind of places since college.
This one was even more low budget than the short film I eventually made, and that one was low budget. I think I made the short film for about $300 to $400. This sketch was even less than that, maybe $50 with all the costumes and whatnot, maybe even cheaper than that. I'm wearing a yellow and black striped polo that a roommate had left behind when he had moved out a little bit earlier, and so I stole that. And then I went to the dollar store to find some bee costumes, and that's where I came across that little headpiece. It was a pretty simple costume. I tried to wear some bee wings, and it was too tight on my shoulders, I remember, because I couldn't find any adult ones, especially any for adult men. So it was a kid's costume that I bought, and the wings did not fit. They were way too tight on my shoulders. I remember I couldn't move my arms at all, and it was very painful. So we decided to cut the wings and just go with the polo and the headband. For Rachel here, I made a little headpiece for her. I asked her to just come in a green dress, and I made this out of craft paper, or like craft foam from the dollar store again, and then super glued it to a headband again from the dollar store. This was very low budget. Like I said earlier, I spent about $50 on this sketch. I don't think I even spent that. This is probably closer to a $10 sketch. I spent so little on this one. And if you watch the whole sketch, you'll see that too. We were figuring things out, so to speak. But yeah, that was the journey and the start of this short film, Bee. You can see some of the early inspirations and things I kept from that one and things that I wanted to improve on. But the main idea was to have a bee-like costume for the main character, for me. And then I really wanted to do these really fun, extravagant flower headpieces for the flowers in the short to make it more obvious. So we're kind of blending realism with absurdism in this short. I don't like breaking this down too much and getting too in-depth in my own things, but that is the line I wanted to toe, is realistic scenarios in silly worlds, I guess is the easiest way to put it. So I'm still wearing it today. I found this in my closet. The vest, I found some black and yellow fur from Amazon and just bought a few yards of that and cut it out and made this vest way too quickly, if I might add. This could definitely be lined. You can see that there's not much on the inside. It's literally just stitched together at the shoulders and the sides, and even the collar and the front here, there's no stitching at all. It's just a raw edge, which looks okay with the fur. It's fine. It was good enough. But I think if I did this again, I definitely would have lined it and added something around those edges to make it just a little bit cleaner. But really, for all this it wasn't too bad. And then I wore a yellow hoodie underneath and then a white shirt underneath both of those. For Kenna, I bought this dress for her off Amazon. I really wanted to focus on green for the body of her, though, just because of that plant life color, so to speak. And then purple to contrast the yellow is why I gave her a purple headpiece. And then I'm not sure if it really shows on this picture here, but with each petal, I also put a lace over it as well. Just a simple lace pattern. Doesn't really show up too much in the clips, But in the video, you can see just a subtle shimmer that it's really fun to look at. I tried to do a headpiece earlier, one that was on a ribbon that you could wrap around and tie underneath, and it just didn't work. I put boning in there to try to give it some stiffness and structure while having more of the looseness of a flower petal was kind of what I was going for, and that just didn't work. And I remember this was a few days before we were going to shoot, and I was starting to panic because I didn't know how to fix this. Eventually, I got the idea to just put foam inside instead. So I went over to the craft store, got some upholstery foam, I believe, and cut those into the flower shapes, and then stitch those flower shapes and put the foam inside of there. And that's what gives it its strength and structure. I did lose the flowiness of a petal, but this works better than the previous iterations, and I'm happy with how that came out. And then all the petals are super glued into a headband. For our second look, we filmed with the wedding. For me, I just wore a basic suit underneath the vest. You can hardly see it in this picture. And honestly, in all the clips, this was the best one I could find. Yeah, it's just a suit underneath this same vest. There's nothing too different about that one. And then for Kenna, I asked her if she had any wedding dresses on her. Kenna's a professional actor, so she has lots of costuming options that she's able to show up with to any of these shoots. And she did have this wedding dress just ready to go. We put that on, and then we put the headband on and filmed these scenes. Rachel did a great job of adding some detail to the eyes and the makeup of Kenna, including these little, they might be rhinestones. I don't know what the technical term is for it. You can tell I'm a really good director. But she added some really cool elements to her eyes to just give a little more shine and glimmer to her eyes, and just a little more interest to it. The craft store. So again, the inspiration for this whole short was the thought, do craft stores count as like strip clubs for bees? And that's kind of the vibe I wanted to go with the craft store. I wanted it to feel like a dirty club that single bees, or cheating bees in this case, would go to be gross gentlemen, I guess. And so I wanted to have this heavy focus on reds, again, to kind of contrast the bright and cheeriness of the past clips. And then there's kind of normal lighting and normal colors for the modern clips. And then all the craft store clips are high contrast, major silhouettes with a lot of reds and darker colors in there. The first one is Cheyenne. You can see her silhouette there. I wanted to make sure that everyone had different petals around their heads and different shapes. So that way it's not just the same flowers. But I don't know my flower etymology, so I didn't know any specific flowers I was modeling these off of. I just wanted to give it a flower-like shape. And then you can kind of see that Cheyenne was all blue, and I bought all blue flowers from a craft store, and I bought a blue bra for her and a blue set of leggings, and I super glued all these flowers around her bra, and then gave her a blue headset. And then Rachel killed it for some of this makeup too. I gave her the flowers so she could model her makeup off of that, and then Cheyenne had such red hair that she gave her a lot of red eyeshadow, and then was able to put some of those flowers onto her face as well, as you can see in this shot here. It bums me out that the red doesn't show up too much because we colored the lights red. That's something going back that I should change. But yeah, it looks great. Rachel absolutely killed it with the makeup. And then the second one is Kayla, who her colors were white and black. And you can see there, you can kind of see in this image at the very bottom the flowers on the bra that I super glued together. White was the theme for her, white and black. So you can see she's got a lot of black lipstick and black eyeshadow, but it has those white petals around her eyes. And then Tara was our main flower for the craft store, and her colors were all yellow. And not intentionally yellow as far as like because the bee is yellow, she was yellow. I thought it did really well to contrast with the red in the background, which I knew before filming that we would be doing that. Yeah, Tara's all yellow, and we got sunflowers, and you can really see on her the flower super glued to the bra around it, and then the headpiece as well. So yeah, that's the craft store girls. And then the production design was a lot of fun too. I was working for an advertising agency at the time when we made this short, and so we had a lot of access to leftover props, and this was filmed at the studio for the ad agency I was working at. They let us use it on the weekends for personal projects if it wasn't booked for other things. That was really cool of them. And so because of that, I was able to do this short for a lot cheaper than it probably would have cost, because I was able to borrow and use a lot of things from that ad agency. So even though I'm not working for them anymore, I'm very grateful that they were able to let us use a lot of that stuff. So this whole craft store that you see in the background, that is all the plants and all the crates and everything that we could find in the storage room of our ad agency from previous shoots. So, and I had a lot of help from Dixie and Spencer on getting that set up and looking good. So that's the costuming breakdown for B, my first short film I ever made. I love watching it and seeing where I've been and where I've come as far as comedy, as far as writing, directing, acting, as a filmmaker, and as a costume designer. I don't do much costume design. That's the most in-depth I've ever done with costume design, but I continue to design, I continue to sew, and I continue to make projects for myself. And I love looking back at that and the creative challenges I was faced with, how I approached them, and how I would do things differently today. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'll link the full video in the description below, so that way you guys can watch the full video. It's on my other comedy accounts. And please like, comment, and subscribe. Ask me any questions you have about the short film and any things that you liked or didn't like about the costumes I made. What did it inspire you to do? How would you have approached this kind of short film? I'm curious to hear what you would have done differently. Thanks again, and as always, peace, love, dopamine.